I think to tie back to your last question, one of the first upper level class, I'm a business major, one of the first upper level classes I took was Business and Society with Dr. Berger. And that is still, I still take that with me everywhere I go. And my current position, I work for 99-cent only stores. I think you guys all know who they are. And it's you know, it's about giving back. It's about helping people. And in these times, in this economy, to be able to open up stores, to be able to help so many people that are out of jobs, just got laid off, et cetera, with providing them with bargains and produce and groceries to be able to carry on their day-to-day, to me is huge. So that's where I'm at right now. Out of college, I started recruiting. I was sitting here much like you're the senior, right? Much like you, not knowing what I was going to do with my degree. And I went with a classmate of mine. We went to a placement service to see if they could get us a job. And she'd set me out on a couple of interviews, and every time I kept coming back going, no, that's not working, that's not working. So she finally said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do what you're doing. I want to be a recruiter. And she kind of laughed at me. And she had all these awards up on her shelf about, you know, she's placed the most people at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, I want to recruit. And to me, I'm the type of person that when somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm going to, you know, show them that I can. So I started recruiting. It was right around the .com boom, so I got into high-tech recruiting, into technical recruiting, and rode that for quite some time. I went on to Toyota Motor Sales in Torrance, headquartered in Torrance. I managed a program, a pretty lucrative program, about $5 to $7 million spend, managing their IT workforce, their contract workforce. And that was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of making sure that stuff doesn't break. It's already set up, we're giving you the keys, don't break it. And I learned a lot, and you know, it's a prestigious company. It was. I don't know, lately it's kind of you know, not such a.
No, it's a good car.
But it's a lot of responsibility. I was still fairly young, and you know, I learned a lot. And that's a company that's been established, and there's a lot of SOPs and standard operating procedures on how to do everything. And to go from there to 99. Where I was given kind of the freedom to set up a department that they didn't have, that didn't exist. So using my experience from Toyota, from recruiting, just what I knew to kind of build a department from scratch was the challenge, and it's turned out to be probably the best out of the 3 career moves, or the 3 jobs that I've had, the best career move. It's a recession-proof company. I was telling Anna, when times are good, there's extra dollars, surplus dollars, people will spend at our stores. When times are bad, everybody's tight with their dollar, they'll spend them at our stores. So either way, you know, our stock, we're publicly held. I think last year we did $1.4 billion in sales. So when you kind of work backwards, and I'm a numbers business guy, so I don't know what your guys' majors are, but very easily put, if everything sells for $1, and we sold 1.4 billion, that's a lot of sales. That's a lot of items going through the registers, a lot of people that we're helping. We're opening up stores, and I don't think you can find too many retailers today that are opening up stores. They're boarding up stores and shutting up stores and laying people off. We're hiring and helping communities. We're getting into communities where we, believe it or not, in California where we haven't been. San Jose, we opened up a store. Never had a store in San Jose. The mayor was there at the grand opening. We want you to open up 5 more in a year or 2. We opened up a second store in Moreno Valley last Thursday. We're opening up another one in Fremont, California tomorrow. So it's exciting, and I always think back to that business and society. And if you can put yourself in a position where you're passionate about what you do, and you can get up every day and believe in what it is that you're selling, or where it is that you're going to work, and what you're providing to people, it makes it bearable. When you look at you've got 30 more years before I retire, 25 more years before I retire, it makes that time go by a lot faster when you enjoy what you're doing versus, oh, gotta get up and go to work again. Now, you have those days too, but they're fewer and further between when you enjoy what you're doing. So now I run the HR department. I don't run it. I'm kind of director of human resources. I report to the vice president of human resources, but the day-to-day stuff falls under kind of my watch. 275 stores, 13,000 employees, California, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas. I didn't need to take up a lot of time.
No, that was interesting. You have more to talk about.
I keep going.
Okay, Molly, who's actually working very locally here.
So hi, my name's Molly. I graduated from Whittier in 2007, and since then I've been working at a local educational nonprofit in Uptown. We run after school and college readiness programs in Whittier, Pico Rivera, and Almani. And I started there totally not knowing at all what I was doing. I actually worked for our CEO as like a private tutor for his daughters, and he said, "Oh, you're graduating, good, I have a job for you, come on." And I was like, "What?" You know. So I got placed in recruitment. They were just a really young organization, growing very rapidly. So I'm the first person to have my position. So I had no idea what I was doing at all. So I have learned a lot along the way, and we've continued to grow a lot in the 3 years that I've been there. So continually, even today, are changing how we do things. So, but in my time at Learn, I kind of appreciated what nonprofits do for everyone, for the greater society, I guess. And that led me to Claremont Graduate University, where I'm getting my master's. And I want to continue in nonprofit management. Doesn't necessarily need to be in recruitment or human resources, but yeah, something in nonprofits. So that's where I'm at right now. What else are we answering?
Class.
Oh.
Well, how Whittier kind of prepared you to be
Oh,
successful.
yes, exactly. Whittier prepared me. Well, I was a Whittier Scholars major, so I had a self-design major, which was, interdisciplinary, had all the breadth and depth and all the different requirements that we had, which I think helped me a lot at Learn, because even though I didn't technically know what I was doing, I had the skills to kind of think outside the box and figure it out. And I think those skills are really important, especially in nonprofits, because you almost always don't have the resources you need or the human power you need to do things maybe the best way you think they should be done, but they still need to be done. And that's like an everyday challenge for us, figuring out, we literally have like mountains of work and, me doing it alone. So yeah, that's helped me a lot, just kind of figuring out what tools do I have to get this done, because I know I'm capable of it. It would be a lot easier if I had 5 people helping me, but that's not the reality. So. Yes.
Hi, Leonard.
My name is Leonard Alvarez. I'm actually local. I grew up in Pico Rivera. I started off by going to University of Redlands to play football. I didn't really like it out there, so I transferred over here to Whittier. When I was here, it's kind of like what you're saying, what do you attribute to Whittier? I kind of attribute to my whole college experience and life experience. I was the guy who was working 4 jobs and going to school at the same time. I was also playing college football. We didn't really get too much money, in regards to when we get really scholarships or anything for football. It's such a small school. So I kind of had that mentality, that hustler mentality, basically. So I had all kinds of odd jobs, and I also did a few internships. I did one with Intuit software company. I also did one with Enterprise. I also, I made sure they're paid internships. I was a business major. I also had the business society class with Berger. I also learned a lot in there in regards to management skills and dealing with people. Kind of having a work ethic, and in regards to just doing the right thing. I went off. So when I was graduating, or when I was a senior, Dr. Duran got me into SIFE, and I started joining all these programs because I wanted to build up my resume so I could get a job right out of college. I joined HSA. I was in the Hawaiian Islanders Club. I was a SIFE member. The only reason I got into SIFE, I got in late because they were down in funding. So I was like, well, I'll go and make $1,000 for you if you guys give me the chance to get in. So I started going. So I went to car dealerships and stuff like that, and I came with $1,000. I was like, okay, you can join. So just that kind of mentality, and then Dr. Duran I owe a lot to because he kind of got me ready, right after college because I was unsure about what I wanted to do as well. Also at the time, my son was going to be born. My girlfriend at the time was pregnant with him, so I was like, I need to find a job, fast. I need to make some good money fast. When we're at the SIFE competition, I grabbed this flyer from Frito-Lay. I was going to grab chips, but I grabbed the flyer too. Got the flyer, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, $56,000 right out of college. That's a pretty good chunk of change. I must have won probably 20 interviews with all these different companies. I was pretty prepared. I think I got about 17 out of the 20. So I was definitely prepared for it. I ended up picking Frito-Lay. But like what he was talking about, getting up every day and going to work and enjoying what you do, I can't say I do that, in all honesty. It's a great job. It's a Fortune 50 company. It's a great company to work with. I have a lot of opportunity to move up, but it's not where my heart lies. I'm actually in the process for the fire department I got in, for the Los Angeles County Fire Department. That's where my heart lies, helping people. Seeing more of when he was talking about reaching out to people, I don't really think I'm reaching out to people by selling chips to them. But everybody has their drive and everything. Everybody has something, that factor. And I think I've always had that kind of hero factor where I want to save people, I want to make a difference, not only in my life but in the community. So that kind of drove me towards the fire department. It's been probably a 3-year process. So I'll be going into the academy this year. Pretty happy about that. So I've seen all kinds of interviews, and those are like the most militaristic interview I've ever been in. Like, you have to practice walking into the room. So it's pretty hardcore. But I'm a district manager for Frito-Lay. We're doing really well. We're part of PepsiCo, Quaker, Tropicana. $13 billion out of that is $7 billion, which we're making for the company. So we're pretty much carrying everybody on our backs. I got a district located in San Bernardino, which is a very low-income area, first of the month type stores. But I'm leading my district, I'm leading my building, and leading the zone for the Inland Empire. I'm also doing fairly well in Southern California. So that's it.
All right, well, so we can see why we're proud to have them come and share with you. And I'm really glad you guys are here to hear from them because they're very successful in what they've been doing. Okay, so I assigned, sort of divided up what I thought were the core pieces of an interview that they will be sharing with you. And we're going to start with Molly, and she's going to talk about initial impressions, what to do even before you get to an interview, and how to make that first good impression.
Okay, happy to do this section because I interview and hire and recruit mostly college students, and there's a definite need for these kind of tips in that population. I know it's not technically their fault, but it's really disappointing a lot of the time. So here's what I have to say about getting ready for an interview and your initial impressions. Take it seriously. We as an employer, a potential employer, are going to hire you and pay you actual money. And so we take the position seriously. We need you to, what you do at the interview is a good indicator of how you're going to be as an employee. So if you are late, which is, I can't stress that enough, to be on time to an interview, and by on time meaning early. So many kids come into our office and are just like, oh, I didn't know where it is, or kind of thing. And that's just not really an excuse that I take seriously, that you didn't know where it is, so that's why you're 20 minutes late. I have a very busy day every day, and that throws off my whole schedule. So definitely be on time, for sure. If you don't know where you're going, go there the day before and figure it out, or leave 3 hours in advance, that kind of thing. Know who you're interviewing with. For us, I would call and schedule someone for an interview, and I always send them a follow-up like confirmation email that has my name in it more than once, so they should definitely know who to ask for when they come in, you know, when they check in with our front desk, things like that. So, you know who's interviewing you. Your dress. Definitely dress professionally. I know it seems really simple, but so many people do not do it. And professional is not jeans, t-shirts, tennis shoes. And even for us, because I'm hiring tutors, you know, so a tutor on the regular day at their position would not be wearing a suit and tie, obviously. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you come to your interview and what you think you're going to be wearing after you get the job. Even if you feel like a fool because you feel overdressed for it, just do it. It's better to be overdressed than not dressed professionally at all. It shows you're taking it seriously, you care, you thought about it beforehand. That's what I can say. Even if you feel like, I feel stupid because I'm wearing a suit and tie at like in the middle of the summer, whatever, just do it. And you're looking in the mirror and thinking like, I don't know if this is nice enough. Like when in doubt, go nicer kind of thing. Especially with stuff like how low your shirt is or how low your pants are sagging kind of thing, which just, yes, if you feel like, ooh, I'm not sure, then just err on the side of caution kind of thing, always. And I know this sounds simple, but so many people don't do it at all, and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to see your butt in an interview. Like, definitely. Okay. So all of that done. After you get to the interview, you ask for who you're interviewing with, you meet with them. I always am impressed when someone actually takes the time to look up our organization, know even a little bit about it. I had a really great interview a few days ago from a Whittier College student, and you know, I had started talking about the organization. She's like, oh yeah, you guys are founded in 2004. Oh yeah, I saw that on the website. I'm like, thank you. It again sounds simple, but so many people don't do stuff like that. So know about the company you're applying for. Know what position you're applying for, what it's called, what it calls for, what its responsibilities are. You will be asked, what do you know about this position? What do you know about this company? How did you hear about us? Why do you want to work here? Those are questions you want to have an answer for. And so often I'm like, oh, why are you interested in working for us? You know, us in particular, not just I need a job kind of thing. So have an answer for that and have thought about it and look on their website, which is, you're on the internet, all the time, I'm sure, so it's easy to do. Even just a little tip like, oh, I heard anything, a little clue that shows me that you took an extra 5 minutes of interest before you got here is big for us, at least. I mean, and that might be just because so many people don't do it, and it's like, okay. What else did I want to tell you guys? So all of that, I mean, definitely, the kind of stay calm, just be confident in yourself. I always kind of felt funny because people would come in and be super nervous and like freaking out, and I'm like, I'm the one interviewing you. It seems weird, I'm like, I don't think I'm scary or anything. All an interview is like for us to get to know each other. We just want to get to know you and see if you'd be a good fit for our position in our organization. And definitely for nonprofits, if anyone's interested in getting into nonprofit work, if you don't necessarily have to have a ton of experience for the position you're applying for. For us, if you're passionate and care about our cause, then that goes a long way with us as well. I mean, I've mostly hired, youth leader tutors, so that's like part-time tutoring after school positions. So a lot of our tutors don't have any work experience at all before. It might be their first job. But them just saying, I care about the community, I care about the kids, I want to give back to my school, stuff like that. It shows, okay, I'm like, okay, your heart's in the right place. You might not have tutoring skills, whatever, but we train you, it's fine. So that kind of stuff too. So don't worry, like, oh, I have no experience, I'm never going to get a job. You have to start somewhere. So staying calm, I know that's like easier said than done, but definitely stay calm. You're going to interview a lot in life, and if you bomb one or whatever, there'll be more, trust me. They're like, so anyway, it's not, don't make it kind of bigger than it is, especially for like the person interviewing you. It's like, I mean, I've literally done in 3 years thousands of interviews. I don't remember the people who are super nervous just because they like care a lot and want the position really badly. I remember the people who don't take it seriously and vomit and are like whatever, you know, not caring. So that a couple other things. I mean, I think if you are really nervous, then practice before with a friend or your roommate or something, or even in the mirror. And it sounds stupid, but even just saying kind of common answers to some questions you think might be asked, like explaining why you're interested in the position. Just saying it out loud once will help you remember it when you do get asked something like that, you know, so you aren't just have the thought in your head but feel like you can't articulate it somehow. So yeah, all of that. I guess I don't want to overlap into the next section, but yeah.
I think we'll probably overlap into each other.
Okay, well, so I'll just stop there then. So now you're at the interview getting asked questions.
So behavioral interviews is my topic, but just to kind of broaden it a little bit, to Molly's point, it's your opportunity. So we'll start with the resume. Your resume is your foot in the door. It's a creative writing piece of paper that's going to get your foot. It's going to get noticed, and they're going to call you in for an interview. It's not going to get you the job. You're going to get yourself the job. Once you're in, here you have this beautiful, great opportunity to talk about yourself and all of your accomplishments. Because once you get in, that's done. We don't really care about what you're already in. Now it's time to go to work. So the interview is your chance to kind of toot your own horn, because once you're in, very few chances to toot your own horn again. So be calm. You're talking about a subject that you know. You're talking about yourself. So there shouldn't be any nervousness or anything like that. If you were asked to talk about the Civil War and you're unprepared, that's one thing. But you're talking about you and yourself and what you've done. So it shouldn't be a shocking thing to do. Behavioral interviews really go back to about the 1970s. Our company is just now starting to do behavioral interviews. Basically, the point of a job interview is to look at your background and look at your past experiences and determine the future. Try to predict how you're going to do in our organization in this position. So it's a future predictor based on past performance. So the questions that used to be asked were always yes/no questions. Can you work on Sundays? Yes. Can you come in at 10 in the morning? Yes. So once you're through your script, oh, I got all these yeses, this person can come in and do all this stuff, let's hire them. Well, they're not a good fit, they've never done the type of work before, they don't move as fast as we'd like or as slow as we'd like, they're not customer friendly, etc., etc., etc. So behavioral interviewing questions are geared towards those things. They're open-ended, so you're put on the spot and you have to come up with a well-thought-out answer. It's not a yes/no question anymore, and they're geared towards the position. In our organization, we have what we call core values. We have 6 core values that are very simple. They're not earth-shattering, and they're very obvious. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated, the golden rule. Every penny counts. For us especially, we're in a penny business. Resourcefulness. Again, you have to make do with what you have. We don't have, the ability to have all the bells and whistles. We got to make do with what we have. Best idea wins. So it's an entrepreneurial company, so we're always looking for bright ideas from the bottom to the top. They don't always have to come from the CEO. They come from stalkers or cashiers. Working manager, so we don't get hung up on titles. Everybody rolls up their sleeves. Everybody puts in a hard day's work. And sense of urgency. Okay, doing what's important and doing it now, not putting anything off. So those are the 6 main things that we use as guideposts when we make decisions, when we're faced with tough decisions. We try to embody these core values in everything that we do. So now we're framing these into questions in the interview process. And I don't care if you're coming in at a vice president level, a director level, a manager level, developer in IT, or stalker, or order puller in the warehouse. You're going to get asked these 6 questions that revolve around these 6 core values. So an example would be, describe a time when you had to get something done, you didn't have all the available resources at your fingertips. What did you do? And so now you have to, if you've done it, there's no problem. You're going to be able to tell that story of what the problem was, what you did, what your limited resources were, and how you overcame. If you've never done it, you're gonna have a tough time. So really, it's a yes, no, but a different type of yes, no question, right? Describe a time when you had a deadline to meet, and you know, you didn't have a chance to really work with the group that you were working with too long and understand the players' sense of urgency. What did you do? Resourcefulness, best idea. We're looking to see if you have these types of values. If you do, great. That's the type of person that we want. If you don't, then chances are you might get in, but once you're in, you're not going to be very successful in the organization or in the position. You know, we're faced right now in employment. There's about 10 to 12% unemployment. So there's a lot of competition for jobs. There's a lot of people that, to Molly's point, way overqualified, that will take anything just to have a job. And there's people that don't have experience that are kind of pushed a little bit further down. So what I'm telling my managers, what I'm telling my hiring folks in my organization is you have an opportunity to be picky right now. You have an opportunity to pick the most qualified people. And the overqualified people aren't always the most qualified people, because what happens when we get out of this and we turn around, those are the first people that leave or that ask for more money or that, you know, want to get back to where they were before. And so we go through all this expense, because it's not, you know, there's a cost to hire. There's a cost of our time to sit in the interview, to post the jobs, to screen applicants, to train them once we hire them, go through orientation. Before that person can become a productive member of the organization, you've already shelled out thousands of dollars in most cases. So how quickly can we get somebody that's going to hit the ground running, and we're going to be able to have them be productive in making money for the company or the organization, or adding value in some way. So that's kind of like behavioral interviews. You guys understand? Do you guys have any questions? Have you guys sat through any types of questions like these before in interviews or in any kind of one-on-one setting? No? I had a, now I don't know if they still do this at Whittier, but we had the GM internship with Saturn down the street. So this is way back. And that was, do you remember the GM internship? Okay, so we teamed up with Saturn down the street. I don't even know if the dealership's still there. And we had to put on an event. We had to learn about their cars. It's kind of like something you see on The Apprentice now. Learn about the product, put together a marketing event, and roll it out on the lower quad. That I put in my back pocket. I had an unpaid internship with the Red Cross in Uptown. That I put in my back pocket. And those are the types of things that I discussed when I was asked those questions. I didn't really have any experience, but I had these events, milestone things that I did, and they were fairly recent. I did in my senior year, that I could recall and explain in my interviews. And that's, I believe, is what helped me. But again, if you're nervous, it comes across. If you are shy, it comes across. If you are overconfident, it comes across, and can be off-putting to the person that's interviewing you. You got to kind of match the intensity level that the person sitting across the table from you has, and maybe up it a little bit more, a little bit more enthusiastic. For us, a lot of things that Molly said, but we have stores. We have 280 stores. So if you just go on the internet and tell me what I wrote on the flash page on the internet, to me that's not enough. To me that's the first step. I want you to visit the stores, and I want you to come back with some smart questions. What did you see? And I can tell if you actually visited a store or not. If I ask, what did you see? What store did you go to? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, the one, what street was it on? Where, you know, I want to know, because I know all my stores, and I expect, if you want to work here, to do a little bit of you know, pound the pavement, get out there and see what we're about.
Well, could I just say, could you give a few more examples of behavior in your community, or do you ask any questions like that, Molly? Do you?
Oh, examples of it. We have so many different. I mean, like I said, just okay. Here's a good one for the tutor position. So it's like, I'm imagining you guys would apply for this position since you're college age. But I mean, I flat out say this is a very competitive position. I've like, for every one position I have open, I probably have 100 applications that get sent to me, like daily. It's like ridiculous. But so I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of other applicants. Why should I hire you? And someone just being like, I really like it. You know, just you have to like give something. But for our like higher level positions, I mean, we ask things just like how, you know, what are 3 words that describe you? I also like, what's your greatest like professional weakness? And, you know, saying like, oh, I'm too dedicated to my job is not a good answer. Because, you know, and you can't say I have none either. You know, everyone has weaknesses, but things like that. What else I'm sure I could think of more.
We have, you know, the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. So in a retail space, it's you know, if you're confronted with an angry customer, or when you've been confronted with an angry customer, how do you handle that situation? I get my manager, or I go get the assistant manager to deal. Well, that's not what you want to hear. Tell me about a time where you were confronted with an angry customer in front of at the line at the register in front of everybody, making a scene. How did you handle it? So it's, you know, if you've done it, if you've been in that position, you can speak to it. If you haven't, you really can tell. There's a pause. There's a, you know, hesitation in the answers, and read into those types of things. Yep. So again, it's staying away from on the hiring side, it's staying away from asking yes/no questions, and on your side, it's having 2 or 3 or 5 examples that you can get into right away, where you demonstrate, you know, teamwork, getting stuff done, seeing something through completion, doing something under tight deadlines, that you can recall. And as you do it, again, I train, and I was talking to Anna earlier, I train store managers that have never interviewed before. You know, they started as a stalker, they went to work a cash register, assistant manager, they don't have any outside experience, any other companies, and nobody's ever taken the time to train them on how to do an interview. So I'll go and sit in on the interviews, and they'll be like, oh, so do you own a car? It's like, you know, do you have reliable transportation to get to and from work? It's not, do you own a car? Because what if I rent a car? What if I lease a car? I don't own a car. What are you gonna, you know, you're gonna cross me off the list? Do you go to, you know, church on Sunday? I mean, you can't ask those questions, and I know that's Leonard's piece on legal and what to ask and what not to ask. But the main thing that we're trying to tell our hiring managers is to move away from yes/nos, open-ended, and stick to the 80-20 rule. You know, you do as the hiring manager 20% of the talking. Let the applicant do the other 80% and tell them about yourself. That way you can make a more informed decision at the end of the interview and after all the applicants that you've seen.
Okay, I'd like to come back to the behavior interview just a little bit later, but we'll go on with Leonard. I asked him to just do any other things he heard that weren't covered, any other tips he'd like to give from his experiences, and also things to do to wrap up an interview and to exit strongly and to leave that good last impression. And what do you do even post-interview?
I probably do about 4 to 5 interviews a week, regularly. Some of the things that, you know, sometimes there's someone that'll almost bomb the whole interview, and that last portion where you ask them, do you have anything else you'd like to ask me? You know, I've had someone that's done, you know, moderately good throughout the whole interview, and then that last closing part, he wins me over, or she wins me over, and it'll be like, I want to see someone that's hungry, pretty much for this job, that's went on the website, that's informed themselves, that maybe visit stores, talk to other salesmen that, you know, that I have working for me, or been out in the markets and stuff. Because one thing, well, the first thing I look for in an interview is experience. Okay, what do you have in relation that's experience? Now, if you don't have, you know, any experience, then that kind of marks you off right off the bat. What she was saying, if you don't come in professionally dressed, I'm marking you off on there. I go through a series of questions, and I'm looking for 3-part answers. I'm looking for the situation, what you did during the situation, and then the outcome of it. You know, open-ended, like he was saying, like what he was saying. But in that last part, like, I want you to win me over. I want you to close the sale. I want you to close the deal. And I want you to ask me, you know, how do you like your job? I've had someone ask me, how do you like your job? And what are the aspects of the job that you enjoy, things like that. Because they're, you know, they're showing me that this guy wants to come and take my job. And that's what I want. I want to train someone and get someone to the level where they're going to take over for me. I want someone to be that hungry, as in they're looking, you know, to the next step. Not necessarily that someone's going to come in real cocky or anything like that, but someone that has a good work ethic. Because I'm all about servant leadership. You know, that's how I work with my people, and that's the kind of person I want coming in. You know, someone like what Claudio was saying is going to get their hands dirty. Because I get my hands dirty. I don't ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't want someone that's going to come in there and work their butt off for the company. I want to get the maximum talent, the maximum effort from this person for what I'm going to be paying them. So if they come in there and they're really enthusiastic and they're really hungry for the job, and I can see it, you can tell. You can tell if someone's BSing you, and you can tell if someone's, I had someone come in and interview the other day and I asked them, what interested you in the position that we have here? He's like, well, my company said they're going to be laying people off pretty soon. He's not making me feel like he wants to be here. It's kind of like almost, I didn't really have another choice.
Yeah.
He came off real cocky, I was like, this guy does not have the job. And then the next guy that came in, he's like, you guys are a Fortune 50 company. You guys, even given the economic, trouble that we're having right now, you guys are still hiring. I want to be somewhere long term. When people are talking about being with a company long term, that's minimizing turnover. That's like what Claudio was saying. You're putting all these dollars into this person, so you want the most you can get out of them. So if someone's talking about making this company their career, for the next 20, 30 years, that's what I'm looking for. I want someone who wants to be vested in this company. So they have to have, even if they don't have experience, but they're hungry for the job and they're willing to work hard, work their butt off and stuff, and it comes through. You can sense it with somebody, the way they're talking, the way they're presenting themselves. Then I won't get too into that, but illegal questions, they shouldn't be asking anything about age, marital status, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, ethnicity. All these are topics that we steer away from. I actually brought with me something that I hope is going to be helpful for you. This is kind of a tips for effective behavioral interview. This is from the interviewer. This is kind of the things we're going through. So this is what's going on in my head, and some things on here. Behavioral questions aimed at what the candidate did in the past. Ask candidate to tell us about a time when he or she did something relevant to this job, and then they'll ask you probing questions. Probing questions is like, okay, well, I worked at Mother's Cookies before. Okay, well, that's nice, but what did you do there? Go into detail, because I'm trying to get as much. The more detailed is even better, because I'm writing down as much as I can, and by you talking the whole time, the whole 80-20, what you're talking about is perfect. This gives you an opportunity not necessarily to brag about yourself, but let them know what your accomplishments are. And if you don't have the experience, you want to relate it back to school projects. I know with Decker, we're doing Harvard level case studies. I brought that up in my interview with Frito-Lay. I've done case studies on this company, this company, this company. So you're well informed about some of their competitors, even things like that. Relate it back to some of the school projects that you've been in, some of the organizations here, because some of you may have limited work experience. So drive those home. That hey, despite the fact that I've been in school for the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, what have you, I have been doing things that are very relevant to the business world or to whatever it is that you're looking into. So
athletics for me plays a big part, because I've been in team sports, which is different than golfing or tennis, where it's just you, or track, where it's just you and a clock. Team sports, like rallying a group of teammates to accomplish a goal. Through college, I was coaching soccer, youth, boys and girls down the street, and that is teaching, that is motivating a group, leading a group to accomplish something, and on a weekly basis, you're training them, you're getting their skills up, you're getting their self-esteem up, their morale, and you're correcting, you're coaching, you're teaching. So those are things that, without having any real 9-to-5 experience, those are things that tutoring is kind of along those lines that help. And the team sports thing, everything is, at least in in my experience, has been teamwork. It's been huge when you get out there to accomplish the bigger things. You don't do very rarely you do everything yourself. So you got to be able to pull from the right resources and the right people, tap the right people to help you get stuff done. And if you've been in team sports, that you understand how that dynamic works. Not to say that if you haven't played any sports or been on it, that you're like scratched off the list or it's a knock against you, but the competitive nature, the interacting with teammates and in a team environment is a pretty big thing.
and I think to Claudio's point, I mean, he played team sports. I mean, I've played sports. I'm not sure if Molly's played sports or anything, but I'm sure she's been involved in some type of a team activity in school, things like that. They want, that person's looking for something to relate with you on. You know what I mean? Something they can know that, okay, you know, this person did this. I kind of know, you know, because if you've played sports before, you know the inner workings of working with a team, or if you've done something with a group or something like that. And if someone comes and plays football, I'm gonna, you know, be more inclined to listen to them. You know, it is what it is sometimes. Or if they played a sport and something and they talk about teamwork, things like that, you know, that can balance out with maybe less work experience too. Or if they've been in a group atmosphere and they've been a group leader in that, and then how they kind of got everybody to work together as a team, you know, troubleshooting, prioritizing, things like that. If I'm looking at all these person has these qualities, then that's going to overshadow some of the experience that they may be lacking.
Yeah, I was gonna, I forgot to mention that in my little part, but, well, a couple things. Totally, I mean, other experience, other than work experience, counts as is showing what you can do and what you're capable of in an interview. So, I mean, definitely for us, you know, it's really easy to volunteer in the line of the work that I'm in. So if you're interested in, you know, becoming a tutor with us, if you have volunteered at one of our schools or anything, you know, with kids in any capacity, that's always okay. You have that much of experience. Just because you weren't paid for it doesn't mean you didn't do it, you know. School, totally. I mean, if people are, you know, child development majors, things are education majors, things like that. Like, obviously, things you're learning in the classroom are really valuable to me as well, just because you haven't had a job that pays you to exercise all that. Going off one thing you said, if the interviewer gives you an in, something that you have in common, or you know, if he's like, oh, I play football too, take that and run with it for sure. I can't, like, so many times, I mean, someone recently, also a different person, was interviewing from Whittier College. I'm like, oh, I graduated at Whittier, and they were like, oh, nothing, you know, and I'm like, come on, like, I'm excited, I'm so excited that you're a poet, like, that's awesome, I want to hire a poet, like, even anything, oh, what year did you graduate, oh, what was your major, anything, like, stuff, even if you don't care at all, pretend like you do. But also on that note, be honest about yourself. I mean, we're saying, like, oh, sell yourself, but don't lie about what you've done, for sure.
There's nothing worse than going to a job every day that you're not qualified for. Because you have this sunken feeling that the pit of your stomach, you're like, what am I doing here?
Well, and
you're going to find out.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
When you do find out, it's an issue. I mean, if you actually get hired and then find out about, and you lied about something major, then that's definitely an issue. But, I mean, for us, there are people who are like, tell me they worked somewhere or had certain responsibilities at a job. I mean, I call references. That's why employers ask for references, ask for their numbers, or your previous workplaces, you know. I call them, and if they are like, oh, what, you know, that's not exactly true, that's a huge indicator to me. I'm not interested in working with people who aren't honest at all, you know. They're, we're inviting them to work, to be my coworker, you know. I might not necessarily work with them day to day, but I want to surround myself with good people and people who I feel, you know, I would want to be on a team with, and, you know, so those are the things I thought of.
So when you guys get up and close the interview and leave, we're left with, you know, your resume and some notes, and if we interviewed 10 people, we're left with 10 resumes and 10 sets of notes, and, you know, what sets you apart from the other 9? And I'm not saying get up on the table and, you know, tap dance so that we'll remember, oh, this is the guy that got up on the table, but be memorable, you know, be memorable. Make me remember you, so that when I'm going through, whether it's an hour after the interview or a day after the interview or 3 days after the interview, I can still remember who you are, who the candidate was, and how you stood out from the group. You know, elevate yourself, make yourself stand out.
You don't want to stand out in like a bad way.
And not in that.
Yeah. Like, oh, that was the guy that was late, or anyway.
For men, if you come in a suit, that, you know, that speaks volume. I mean, it's one thing to come in a shirt and tie, but if you come in a full-on suit, that's, you know, hey, this guy's prepared, clean shaven. I see people come with beards, and I'm like, I really would not want this guy to work for me. He's not even, he can't even clean himself up to come, you know, comb your hair if you have hair or whatever. You know, be presentable. How, you know, you're selling yourself.
It's respecting the interview. It's respecting the process, right? It's not so much. I'm sitting here talking about, you know, if you come in jeans, and I'm like, you know, but we have a casual work environment, so I can come in jeans, and it's okay if I come in jeans. But if I'm interviewing somebody, I expect them to not, even if we are a casual work environment, I expect them to respect the interview, respect the process, and take it seriously. And that is coming in a suit, coming in a business suit, being polished, and standing out in that regard. There's nothing worse than being underdressed. For us, it's hard because we're casual. So if you're underdressed, you got to look really sloppy. But we do see it.
Yeah.
And the suits, suits are, it could be a cheap suit, but if you came in a suit, I'm gonna remember it. I probably spent $100, but it was a good investment for me. And I bought a suit. It was one of those 3 for whatever deals and stuff. But I bought a suit, I bought a tie, I looked clean. I don't open it up so you can see all the cheap inside of it, but I had my suit. I had a suit to go and interview with, and it was an investment that I made. It was $100 out of my pocket, but it spoke volumes. A nice tie.
Turn your cell phones off.
Yeah, definitely turn your cell phone off.
Leave them in the car, even, because off. I was joking at a meeting. We have this code that you turn it on vibrate when you come into a conference room and you come into a meeting, but I was joking with somebody, pretty soon it's going to be turn them off, because even when they vibrate and they're on the table, it is the most annoying, it's even more annoying than ringing. And then you have that urge, I have to look, is it important, I have to look. And there's nothing worse that when you're interviewing somebody that the phone is more important to them, that text message is more important to them than getting the job.
Yeah.
And that's how we see it. Oh yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
I swear I could write up the
there's
things.
volumes, stories for days.
Yeah.
We have there's a story. There's a guy that came in and interviewed with me and one of my coworkers, and never ask at the end of an interview, how many sick days do I get?
Yeah. You're not hired yet.
How many sick days do I get? How much vacation time do I get? Don't ask those questions at all. You can inquire about that after maybe, but don't ask him that time. Because he's like, yeah, sometimes I just feel like burning one. Burning one as in burning a day, not coming in. Like, yeah, you're not gonna work for me. Sorry. Yeah, and it's like I couldn't believe this guy's like he had probably 25 years of experience at Ralph's, and ours is over Frito-Lay, so well, okay, well, maybe he got promoted during that. He was probably stock crew the whole time he was there, given the fact, his work ethic and the way he's coming in, he just thought he was inclined to have this job, and it just didn't come out right. So don't ask about vacation time, and don't ask about days off.
Well, that kind of all the.
Paid either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you should already know that too.
You
before
probably
you're
already
going in.
know that.
You should have. You'll find that out. And then when it comes down to it, if it's not a pay that you're happy with.
Don't bring up money until the person that is interviewing you brings it up first. That's another off-putting topic. It's kind of it's one of those undiscussables, but you have to be ready to speak to them, but not you initiating it. Let the interviewer initiate the money and asking you how much are you looking for, or how much did you make at this last position, or start it that way, and then go ahead and enter in the conversation. But don't beat them to the punch and say how much does it pay.
Yeah.
I'm looking to make more than I was making before, or that I'm making now. That's not good.
Well, we have about a little time left for questions from you, but before we do that, I do want you to all think about Leonard's comment about how the answer is best structured for a behavior interview is you think about a specific situation, the action you took, and the results of that. I call it a CAR. It's a challenge, action, result, and that's what I always tutor. If you want help in an interview, that's how I tutor you to prepare. But you need to pre-plan those questions, because it doesn't just come out great the first time. So you have to have, how do you handle a stressful situation, a difficult person, flexibility. You're being thrown into a situation, like he said, a few resources. Do you have those ready? You've all experienced something, either in a volunteer or a paid position that's done that, but they're not in the top of your head. And like he said, if you're hesitating, you're stuttering, you're pausing, that comes across like you're indecisive, you're unsure of yourself, you're not confident. So the better rehearsed person actually gets the job, not the better qualified person. It will be the one who can play this game to the max. It's a game.
There is a thinking on your feet quality that you got to be able to react. In my current position, interviewed with the president of the company, and for us, we spend our money in our stores. We put it out to our stores. So our home office is not corner office overlooking the ocean. It's very, it's I don't know the word, but it's not, you know, it's used, we get furniture from auction, it's used furniture. So if you're there for like the like, you know, glam, this is not the place. If you come from Sony or Universal or somewhere like that, it's just not for you. And I was coming from Toyota at the time, and Toyota was like that. It's very nice, everything's top of the line, computers and big monitors and all that. And he said, you know, this is kind of what we're about. You know, how would you adapt? And I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I can't bring up Toyota because it's complete opposite. And the one thing that I could think of or think back to was, you know, my dad's a builder, and every house that I grew up in, he did some sort of remodel to. So I was used to sleeping in the living room, sleeping on the floor, sleeping in the kitchen when the bedrooms were being remodeled, and I adapted. And I formed an answer around that, and it was like one of those things that it wasn't based on experience of working or school or academics. It was just, geez, where do I go with this one? And it was just my upbringing, you know, and ultimately it doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, does a check bounce every week? No, a check doesn't bounce. Am I able to take care of my family and pay my bills? Yeah. What do I care what the desk looks like or what wall art is or what art's up on the wall? It doesn't really matter. I guess it pays the bills, gets the job done, I'm happy, and, you know, on to the next thing. So there are people that are all about, do I get a corner office? Can I get carpeting in here? Can I get my credenza to match the desk? And it's like, next. It's just not going to work for us.
So do you have questions? And we do have another senior woman right here who came after swimming classes. Hi. We only have 2 seniors in the room. I thought it would really fun.
I have a question for Molly. She did something about asking people why should I hire you instead of other applicants. Like how do people usually respond to it? Because that's kind of scary, I think.
Yeah. And that's always my last question. I'm like, okay, I'll only have one more question, so we're almost done there. Like, yes, you know, but yeah, it's scary, I guess. Like, what do I want to hear?
Yeah.
Or what would be a good response? I mean, people who just reiterate the things they already told me, why they're qualified, why they're interested, why they care about what we do, what they're going to bring to the position. You know, I mean, for us, we give our tutors opportunities to showcase sort of their extracurricular skills. Like, you know, they're really interested in being a teacher, but they also have always coached soccer. Oh, I've always coached soccer. And because we have opportunities for that, for our staff to do other things. So little things like that, you know, oh, and I also do this, so that's something, oh, okay, I'm going to need a soccer coach this summer, so that'll be good. But yeah, I think that it's a good time to reiterate what you've already told me, sort of in a condensed, like, nice package at the end. And that's like I said, the last question I always ask, so that's the last thing I remember, you know, that you kind of send off part.
And you know, it's why should I hire you? It's not why shouldn't I hire the other applicant. So it's always about yourself. You can't come out and say I'm more qualified than anybody else because you don't know who you're going up against. So make sure that you highlight and recap yourself and your skills and your experience, but don't make it about everybody else. You know, I'm the best one for well, how do you know you're the best one? You haven't seen who you're going up against. But why you feel you're more qualified, this is the field that you want to get into, you've been trying, whatever the case may be.
I mean, I would also say that we were talking about, you know, don't hesitate and feel like, you know, you need to answer the questions, which is definitely true. But there's also, it's okay if we ask an open-ended question, especially for you to take a moment to think about an answer. You know, I mean, it's horrible, and I haven't even finished the question before someone's like blurting out, oh, I did this, you know, and I'm like, okay. So it's okay, like, if you want to take a second to think, gather your thoughts, and then give a good answer, you know. So don't feel like you can't be silent the whole time to think. That's fine.
And you can ask, could you repeat that question again if you really didn't get what they were.
Yeah, or oh, do you mean this? Or, you know, do you mean when I was at this place? You know, it's okay. I mean, that's what I wanted to get across. I don't know. We don't have very formal interviews where we are. So I'm like, it's okay. You don't need to be super formal and anything. I mean, you need to be polite and professional, but we're just having a conversation more than us like asking questions or writing down what you say kind of thing, you know. So it's treated like that. Like you want to talk to the interviewer, not just blurt out questions and, you know, for these 5 years I did this, kind of thing. So.
With going back to what you were saying about why I best or why you best qualified for this job as opposed to other people. I remember with the LA County Fire Department, that was like one of the most militaristic interviews I've ever been through. I had to come in the room, hello sir, yes or no sir, may I please have a seat, wait till they sit down and all that, and then the question at the end, and this is the job I've always wanted since I was a kid. I'm super passionate about it, and it came out when I was talking to them, and they said, they asked me a question, give me a word that describes yourself. They described yourself, and I said resilient. And I said, okay, well tell me why. I said, well, this is probably the third time I've applied for LA County. First time, I didn't get picked up because my score wasn't high enough. Second time, I got clipped because I was in Group B or Band B. I said, but I won't let that stop me. This is what I was born to do. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I see this as a way of life. And when I was talking to them, my eyes almost started watering a little bit because they could see how passionate I am about this job. Like, I want those core values. They have core values there. Those core values is how I want to live the rest of my life, basically. When my son sees his father, I want to see his father with these core values as a hero, as a man that he can really respect. And when I came off to him, he was just like, this kid really wants this job, And I said, this is what I prepared myself my whole life for. And if you come across like that and you're genuine, I mean, if it's not there, then maybe you don't have to. But this is something that I was super passionate about, and this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And it came through. And that's what when they said, describe yourself resilient, because I've been, I could have stopped and said, forget it. I was actually interviewing for LA County when I was coming to Whittier College, and that was 2001 when I first came here, and now it's 2010. So it's I kept coming back, and they're like, wow, okay, you really do want to be here.
And you're gonna have station positions and destination positions, and what he's described as a destination position, it's where he wants to get to, where he wants to be once he's there. He's not gonna look to jump as like a station. Like, think about it like a train station or subway station. I'm here for this amount of time while I'm in college, and when I graduate, I'm moving on to the next thing. So for a cashier position or something, at the Gap or something like that, you're not looking for. It's a station. It's not the final destination for you. It's a stopping ground for the time being that serves the needs of the company. You're going to be able to give them an employee that can do the job, and the company's and you're going to get your needs met. You're going to be able to pay your bills and go to school and get the schedule that you need, but it's not your ultimate destination. So you have that, what he's describing with the fire department is definitely a destination position. It's his end game. It's where he wants to be.
I had a question for Leonard. You know how you said like for the county it was more like there's certain things you have to do. So like in an interview, how important is like body language and like what you do, like how does that reflect on you? Even though you might be like articulate yourself very well, but how does your body language like come across to the interviewer? So,
body language is huge, and I went to several mock interviews. I probably went like 6 or 7 mock interviews, different fire stations, talking to captains and stuff. I mean, even when you walk in, I'm not going to be like this or leaning forward or kind of I sit upright. I always make sure my hands are dry. You don't want to shake someone's hands with sweaty hands or sweaty palms. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just you don't want to do it. So I keep my hands on my side on my pants, and I pretty much position myself, back straight, and I'm focused on both people. It was a panel interview. There's another person taking notes in the back, and I'm addressing both people. I'm talking to them, and I'm like this whole time. I'm not fidgeting, and I'm just zoned in. You gotta, and sometimes it's hard because some people may, they don't want to make that eye contact and things like that. So you kind of gotta train yourself. And I think mock interviews are huge, and if you do, and you can run with your friends.
I do.
Yeah, should be the perfect person to do a mock interview with, and get yourself to that level of comfort. Because to Claudio's point about they want that person to think on their feet. You know what I mean? Well, you're also gonna have to think on your feet while you're staring at someone you've never met before, and you know what I mean. You're gonna have this intimacy with them, whether it's 2 or 3 feet away, but you're gonna have to get them engaged in you. And that's going to make you stand out even more.
And just to dovetail on what he said, the body language is like a whole nother interview that's going on during the interview, right? It's like the silent interview that's happening. It starts with the handshake and the meet, and it ends with the handshake and the close. And everything in between, the way you're sitting, are you leaning forward too much? Are you leaning back? Are you taking notes? Do you have your hands crossed, uninterested? Are you looking at me when you're answering or when I'm talking? It's like a whole nother game that's going on in the background. And nothing's worse than a soft handshake, either at the beginning or at the end. It's like, it's sad, and it's just, I've had people break my hands, and I was like, yes, I like this guy or I like this gal. And I've had people come and then just like go limp at the last second. I'm like, oh, it's sad. But yeah, that's definitely it's like a whole nother game that's going on.
I think something that's good too is to bring some type of a folder with you to the interview, or something that it shows kind of like you're prepared almost. I have like this little leather binder thing, you know what I mean, in case they give me any paperwork or I had to bring anything to them, and always have a pen on you. Just be prepared for anything. You know, if they say, hey, you know, we're gonna give you a second interview, okay, well, you pop out your stuff, start writing everything down. If you're allowed to take notes, even ask them, may I take some notes, or you know, you don't necessarily have to bust the notes out, but it kind of shows you're prepared for the situation. You know,
Well, and the interest, I'd say taking notes. So it's, I mean, and if you're like on a job hunt and going on a lot of interviews, like you should probably take notes to remember which place was what and which job was what.
And having questions, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is when we're wrapping up, I ask if there's any questions that I can answer for the position, for the company, for myself. And when they say, no, you pretty much summed everything up, I feel that there's something missing. I don't like that. And when we do panel interviews, that's one of the things that when we debrief afterwards, if the three of us are interviewing the same candidate, we'll debrief. And I'll ask, what questions did he or she ask you? And if they're the exact same ones, that's a biggie too, because it's like, the first person that you asked answered them.